Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Set Lusting Bruce, your podcast all about Bruce Springsteen, his music, and mostly his fans. I am your host, Jesse Jackson. Joining me on a wonderful Saturday morning is Starla Repka. Starla, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
Sure. My name is Starla, and I'm a current college student studying business communications. And that really comes from my own interest in storytelling and wanting to unite people under different commonalities and situations. And since becoming a Bruce Springsteen fan in the last few years, I've really noticed his innate ability to do just that and to craft a narrative. And as someone who would like to be a professional writer one day, I see him as a very good source of inspiration and admiration. And I really just look at his writing style and think, oh, how can I do better? How can I improve? And see where my inspiration will take me.
Very nice. I'm looking forward to getting into that. Ron Martz is a fairly successful comic book writer, and I don't know why I put in the comic book writer qualifier, just a very confident writer, but he talked about that in college he could not stand Stephen King or Bruce Springsteen, and now then if he had to quote source, the two biggest influences on writing would be Bruce Springsteen and Stephen King. So yeah, absolutely. All right. I always like to start at the beginning. Talk about where did you grow up and what kind of music was your family listening to when you
Mm,
were younger?
sure. I'm originally from a southern town in southern New Mexico, which I'm currently based back in, so the Southwest. And so with that, I grew up, grown up in New Mexico and grown up with more 60s, 70s kind of country music that my grandparents would listen to, and my mother. It was like Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, Roy Orbison sort of deal. Personally, I'm a little anti Waylon Jennings, but that's only because of a family feud. That's nothing against his music. But anyway.
Okay, I may have to hear
Oh,
more about that.
I could tell you, I could tell you. But
Okay. Yes.
so that was something I always enjoyed. I did like that country, slower type of music. And then there was my dad's side of the family that was definitely more 80s, 90s techno. So the complete
Mhm.
polar opposite, but still a good range. And nowadays I fall into that sweet middle. I'm not against current music, modern day music. I like some stuff that I like now, but I do find myself listening to mostly 80s and 70s mixes and rock and stuff like that
Mhm.
nowadays.
Um, so I am curious if you can, what's the Waylon Jennings story?
Sure. Waylon Jennings grew up in Littlefield, Texas. So did my grandfather. They grew up in the 40s together, early 50s, I believe, as well. I have a
Okay.
yearbook of them together. There's proof. I just got to get it out of
Wow.
storage. Yeah, it
Okay.
is. But, and of course, I wasn't there to confirm it, sadly, but to my knowledge, they had a fault. They were friends. They had a falling out. Waylon Jennings might have not been the nicest to my grandfather. Uh,
Okay.
and so that was just something that my grandfather was always like, "Oh, that's why Johnny Cash is better, and that's why blah, blah, blah. That's why he's the king."
How fun.
Yeah. And so growing up hearing that, or when I first would listen to the radio and I'm like, "Oh, I like this song," and people are like, don't listen to that. Your grandpa hears you listen to that. He's gonna be real upset with you." But
I love that. It is,
yeah.
yes. It's nice to have a multi-generational feud. Yes, that's great.
Yeah.
I talk about this, I see this a lot of things that, people are two categories. The people that kind of love their parents' music, and as they grow up, they grow and expand theirs. And the others who can't stand their parents' music till they get
Mm.
about 30.
Mm.
And then is that they determine, oh, that Johnny Cash guy my
That
dad
guy.
was talking about, that's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned you're a fairly new Bruce convert. So
Mm.
talk to me a little bit of that. Tell me the story. When did you first discover Bruce, and what
Mhm.
about him spoke to you?
Yeah, like I said, in the last, I want to say 2.5, 3 years, I've really, I have friends and we call each other Bruce heads, just really
Yeah.
into it. And what really spoke to me, besides just his, later on, it was his writing and lyrical ability, but it was just his voice in
Hmm.
general, really. I grew up occasionally, obviously hearing occasionally, Born in the USA on the 4th of July. Not the song you want to play, but you hear it
Yes.
nonetheless,
But
you know? That's
they
what you
keep,
get.
yep, they keep saying that, don't
That's
they?
right. But I knew of him. I'm like, oh, he sings this song and another one, Dancing in the Dark, of course. That's on the
Yeah.
80s. playlist, but it really wasn't until a couple more years ago when I moved back down here to New Mexico and was just diving more into certain things. And my friend was like, "You should listen to The River." And I was like, "Okay." And I really just, that sent me down the rabbit hole. And I just fell in love with his music in general.
Is there any one specific song or story that struck you?
Ooh, I have a couple songs of his that I think are some of his best stuff, but I really think in terms of early listening, ooh, hold on, we're gonna pull up the full album real quick. Got that. No, okay.
No problem.
In particular with The River, it was like The Price You Pay was something that always stood out to me. Like
Okay.
really that whole second disc of the River album. I know I have a lot of friends that are don't like the song Drive All Night. That's one
Hmm.
of my favorites.
Yeah, I love that song too.
So that I thought, and it's just that somber kind of romance, at least that's what really drew me in. And then eventually listening to Tunnel of Love and his 2000s music and seeing that evolution of his both his writing style and his life and how he tells those stories, I thought was absolutely fascinating.
Do you mentioned about wanting to write? Did you grow up, were you a reader always?
I was a very big reader as a kid. I very much had my head in a book more than I spent talking to other kids my age. But it's just as fun sometimes.
Yeah.
And I was always a bigger fan of nonfiction than fiction, so I'd always be reading either history or just biographies, which is why I own 5 different biographies of people, because I'd rather read that than a
Yeah.
dragon book. But dragon books are cool too.
Yeah.
But I did develop very early on with as much reading as I was doing, I thought I was writing poetry. Pardon me, I have a dog. I was writing poetry, and that just went from there and it developed into just a childhood interest.
Have you thought about, and maybe you haven't done the self-reflection, but why do you think nonfiction more than fiction?
I was more of a fan of just the more direct kind of communication, the facts of it, the more historical points. I don't dislike nonfiction. I used to be a very big Aragon fan. So that's
Okay.
fantasy book as well. But I could just get through the nonfiction easier and I could read more and just quickly rather than sit down and be like, oh yeah, let me imagine this world I'm in and really get into it. And so that I would typically always write very either short stories or whatever I was required to for school rather than the more creative assignments. But with that's something I'm trying to branch more into as well.
As someone who would read multiple biographies and autobiographies, what was your take on Bruce's that?
I got I got his the first one I got was the one that he wrote, so his own personal autobiography. And I was like, okay. I enjoyed it overall. I've been rereading it since. But then I got the one, what's his name?
Peter
Carlin?
Carlin? Yeah.
That's right. Then I got
Yeah.
Carlin's. Yeah, I'm looking at them both right now. And then, because that one was written beforehand, and that one I thought was a little more juicy. I haven't finished it entirely, but it does, in my opinion, Bruce is going to be a little biased. Everybody's a little
Sure.
biased towards themselves
Yeah.
and their past and their history. But with Carlin, I thought it was a lot less biased, even though he is a fan of Springsteen. And I
Yeah.
thought that was a little more refreshing. But I admire both sides of like certain things, like nobody cares too much about maybe Bruce's old, however many ex-girlfriends he had when he was young. So maybe he's not going to talk about that. But if there's certain things that happened or were in the news at the time, those other girlfriends have those stories. And I believe Carlin has spoken a little bit to those sort of
Mhm.
circumstances. So it's more juicy, that deeper sort of level that you're like, oh, I'm surprised he didn't talk about this, or oh, there's probably a reason.
Yeah. Have you read Down Thunder Road, The Making of Bruce Springsteen by Mike Appel?
I have not read it, no.
Yeah, the reason I did is in Bruce's autobiography, he talked about that Mike, he was sharing the story of their breakup, their lawsuit,
Mm,
and he said, and Mike has a different view, and I think it's worth reading. And so I did. And yeah, it's the other side of kind of Mike giving his side of the lawsuit. It's easy to
yeah.
picture Bruce as the hero, tortured artist, and Mike giving his side of it. It's fascinating. Little too much lawsuit documentation in it for me. Okay, I don't want to be a lawyer,
These guys,
so I
don't
don't.
forget about this lawsuit, please.
Yeah, and here's this thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. One of the things I to qualify, Starla, before I ask this question, is the amount of times you've seen Bruce perform live is not a fair barometer of how big of a fan you are.
That's true.
Depending on ages and where you live and time frame and economic situations,
Yeah.
I've got fans who have never seen him that are massive fans, and then I've had people that have been lucky enough to see him over 100 times.
Yeah, of course.
So, are you someone who counts? And if so, how many?
I sadly have not seen him live. Not yet. Not
Okay,
yet.
see? Yeah, that's perfect. And you're still in college, correct?
I am, correct.
Yeah. What's your take on this latest tour and the political bent he's taking?
With his current, you mean European tour?
Yeah,
When he ended the American one, I was like, oh, I was like, you don't want to loop around one more time.
yeah,
But with that, when he what was that second show he did, and then he was talking about Trump,
yeah,
I was like, good for him for saying what he's going to say just out of the US too, gets a little bit of heat off of him, which I think adds a layer of humor to it. But I think that if A, you're Bruce Springsteen, or you have some sort of platform or level of fame and influence, I think that's good to use that for more positive choices and positive acts. And I think for him to speak his piece and his mind about the injustices that he's seen, also similar to how he spoke in the 80s,
yeah,
I think is great. And I also think that with the younger fans, definitely seeing him talk like that now, I think in a way, because I've spoken to a few, find that to be very inspirational. And also some people do see it as a very direct fight back in a way, you could argue, but I just think it's great that he's using his platform for a positive influence.
yeah. So you mentioned you've got a couple other Bruce buddies there at university. How do you get, because I still get every once in a while, I'll mention I'm a big Bruce Springsteen fan, and they'll go, "Oh yeah, born in the USA guy." Yeah. How about you? Are you definitely a outlier on the Springsteen fandom in college thoughts?
Currently, I am doing my degree online, but I do
Oh,
have just my regular group of friends. I am definitely the local Bruce Springsteen fan. They think of him, they're like, "Oh yeah, Starla's a fan. Starla's
I love
crazy about him."
that's not a bad thing, right?
No, but that's the reputation. You got to wear it
Yeah,
strong.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
But in terms of my Springsteen buddies, my one actually you spoke to fairly recently. You spoke to a buddy of mine, Laura, and her father
Yes.
about Inyo.
Yeah.
And I was talking to her. I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna talk to Jesse here in another week." And she was like, "Yeah, I've spoken to him. He's awesome." And
Oh,
so
that's
she
sweet.
she was really sweet, yeah. And but we've talked about all sorts of stuff. But it's like I'm here, and then all these other sporadic Bruce Springsteen fans that you meet through online circles and stuff like
Yeah.
that too. But it's definitely with I would say the people under 30. It's like you don't find as much, or they're not as active or around. I guess I live in a small town. That's just me.
No.
But
Uh,
yeah,
yeah, a couple of years ago, probably longer than that now, I realized, Starla, that if I didn't make a specific choice or actions, that my podcast would be filled with 50 and 60-year-old something white guys
sure.
talking about Bruce. And that makes sense because I'm a 60-year-old white guy that loves Bruce. So I've gone to look for non-male, younger, different people of color that are Bruce
Hmm.
fans to get that different shade, that different thought.
Yeah, that different
Um,
perspective for sure.
yeah. So you talked about the river. Talk about some of the other albums that you love. Tell me why. And then I want to talk about how you think his storytelling and songtelling is affecting you as a writer, influencing
Sure.
you.
I've been a long time fan. Tunnel of Love. I want to say top three albums for me in no particular order, but definitely top
Yeah.
three. I
Why
mean,
Tunnel of Love?
I joke around. I once referred to it as his divorce album because that's really, and that
It
whole
is.
tour,
Yeah,
that's
it
what it
is.
is.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I have a magazine, a Springsteen magazine, and it's got reviews of each album, and in whoever reviewed that album wrote it as divorce album, and I'm like, I said that. I said that. Come on.
Yeah, come on. Yeah.
Come on now. But I really was gravitated towards that because it's, I think, a good mix of that saying, "Oh, I love you so much, but we have problems. We can't be together." And also, "I'm willing to do anything for you, for us to
Yeah.
be together." And it talks about those different dynamics and those relationships and what he was going through. But what I love most about it is the encompassing tour and the kind of like the lack of footage from that
Yeah.
that tour, which is a little upsetting, but that's why I love it so much. And just the video and the recordings of it, I think that his voice is absolutely gorgeous. And that really, especially post Born in the USA, it was like almost that's still that peak of him being Bruce Springsteen, even
Yeah,
though a lot of people don't consider that to be such a big, crazy, memorable tour and or album, which I
yeah.
find a shame.
So what I love about this so much, Starla,
Mm.
is I would put I joke that if I had to pick between Tunnel of Love and Darkness on the Edge of Town,
Mm.
I'd pick Tunnel of Love every day. Every day.
Think I'd have to as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that many people consider Darkness his
It's
greatest album.
taboo.
Yeah, it is taboo. And I actually have a bumper sticker. Tunnel of Love is greater than Born to Run. Fight me on it. And the and I've said that you can't appreciate Born to Run unless you've had your heart broken a few times or
Mhm.
you've been in a long-term relationship. And every
Yeah.
time I say that, someone like yourself comes and says, I haven't had my heart broken that much time, and I've not been, and I'm fascinated anytime I find someone in their 20s that speaks to them because, and I think it goes back to exactly the universal themes. The idea that I love you and I'll do anything for you, but also I don't know if we're going to be able to make this work. In his, autobiography, he talks about sitting across from Julianne Phillips, going, she is beautiful. She is everything you could want, and if she ever figures me out, she will dump me
Yep.
because he just doesn't think he's worthy about this. Yeah, I'm. That makes me so happy you love Tonal Love.
Ah, finally, another person. Finally.
Yeah, no, it is, and yeah, I just there is so much in there that just speaks. I would, in fact, early in the my recording, I said that if I had to choose in live albums, if I had to pick a song set
Mm.
that you could do Born in USA backwards or Tunnel of Love
Mm.
forward, I'd go give me Tunnel of Love forward any day because you would get so many different songs.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I love Born to Run, love Thunder Road, I love Rosalita, and all these Badlands, go on and on. But the idea of having to hear Tunnel of Love and stuff from Magic would just be
Yes.
something really great.
I was just going to mention too, I was going to be like, I'm a big Magic fan.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of people talk about that album very often as well.
Yeah, my first musical obsession, Starla, was Brian Wilson and the Beach Boys. And so when I heard
Mm.
Girls in Their Summer Clothes, I was like, oh, this is him.
A direct, yeah,
Yeah,
nod.
that's just a direct nod to Brian Wilson and his music.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are some other things from Magic that you love about?
It was definitely before I did more research on it and just also the political climate, the
Yeah,
Bush administration then, and it's still definitely far enough out, but not, I believe the Rising was 2002, so that was directly post 9/11. So this is a few more years out, I believe
yeah,
2007. So with that in consideration, but it stood out to me initially just it encapsulated what the sort of dad rock is, but it was definitely more of a 2000s rock sound. And that reminded me, A, of my childhood, but this in particular, I was like, oh, this, and it's Bruce Springsteen. This is okay. And it was very much, there's a lot of emotion to it. And so after doing some research, I found that he wrote it in a way as like a slight political commentary on certain sounds. And then with other songs too, again, he is writing about that element of love. In particular, like Devil's Arcade. When I first heard that, I was like, I thought I started levitating. But
yeah,
what it is how he uses his voice in these lower tones and when he's singing more somberly. And then you're right, in Girls in Their Summer Clothes, it's a little bit of a higher octave and you can hear like more joy or in Living in the Future as well.
yeah,
And so I guess in a way similar to Tunnel Love, there is that balance of different fluctuations and emotions and different storytelling. But Magic I really liked because it was more of that almost grunge rock of what
yeah,
you would think Bruce Springsteen would produce.
yeah. I love I'll Work for Your Love because my wife and I over 40 years of marriage, and it is work. Having a successful marriage is a lot of work. And so I love the idea that, I that line, what others may want for free, I'll work for your love, is so
Hmm.
good. You mentioned you've got Magic, Tunnel Love, any others that stand out to you?
I want to say as a whole, as an album, probably Nebraska, which is why
Okay.
I'm very much looking forward to Deliver Me From Nowhere.
Yeah. Have you read the book?
I'm just about finished with it, actually. I ordered it about a year ago and then I put it off for some time and I was like, I need to finish this.
Yeah.
But so far, I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, I read it as if it read to me like it was a mystery, right? Like,
Mm,
why did he have to do Nebraska before he could do Born in the US? So, yeah, I could definitely see that.
yeah.
So, talk about you said you had done poetry growing up, other things. When did it solidify to you that you wanted to pursue this as a degree and as something to do for a living?
Definitely like when I was first getting my associate's degree, I flipped majors a couple times. I got my associate's in criminal justice. I was
Okay.
originally wanting to be a lawyer and do that sort of advocate sort of thing. And then life changes, plans happen. And
Yes.
from there, it just, yeah, it just developed into sort of communications in general. And with my ability in talking to folks and or in organizing that I've done for different circumstances and
Mhm.
events, I thought it would be the most useful. And with my own interest in just more personal writing and not necessarily the business aspect of it, I still thought this can still improve my skills that I currently have and develop further. And so far, it's definitely something that I've enjoyed because I have seen changes in my own personal writing and just what I want to
Mhm.
do as a career in future, in the future.
So let's talk about where what do you think you feel like you want to do? Talk about that.
I think ideally professionally, in the perfect world, I would love to be either in PR or
Hmm.
on the radio, either be it DJing or talking to other people about, again, commonalities in our interests. For a hot while, I wanted to have my own podcast with my own friends. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
But so many fall flat when then
Yeah.
don't, then they just look silly.
Hmm.
But that interest still is there. And so definitely as a career, ideally, I would love to be somebody that just connects other people. And if that's in PR, public relations, then you're just working with other communities and you're working with all sorts of different people and getting to know their life stories and from there develop your skills and especially your communication abilities.
Yeah. Since you've not seen him
Correct.
in live, the quick answer is everything. But are there songs you specifically that you're really looking forward you want to see live?
Yes, actually. There would be a couple, but I would personally, just because of my interest, I think they would be fair slim chance of him performing, but I'd love to hear If I Should Fall Behind.
Yeah.
Big fan of that. I would 100% would have that at my wedding.
Yeah.
Atlantic City, if he was doing something acoustic, I'd love to hear that. And I'm on fire. If he still does that as much as he used to, I would love to hear that.
Okay. Very nice. What do you think of it? Have you, I know college student, budget's limited, but have you gotten to hear any of the box set?
I have tracks too.
Okay. Yes.
Yes, I have listened to quite a bit of it. I like a couple different songs from each disc.
Okay.
I want to really listen to it deeply again and really
Yeah.
try to develop more solid opinions, but I want to say that from the ones that he just released, I think it's disc 7, which I want to say is Perfect World, is what that was originally titled.
Okay. Yeah.
That one I think is one of my more favorites from this release.
Nice. And what is and we're all guessing, what do you
Mhm.
think he's going to do next?
I
Play
think
tour in the US so you
that
could
too.
see.
And I didn't realize too, he had started touring 2023, like late 2023
Yeah.
until this year, and I had no idea. I was like, wow, that's okay. He definitely needs his rest. And so for him to go for the European tour just about immediately, I was like, wow, this man doesn't stop.
Yeah.
I I'm sorry, what was your question again? I apologize.
Just if you're speculating, what do you
Oh,
think
what he'll
he'll
do
do?
next.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. That's right. I think that after he does this European tour, I think that he'll chill out. I think that he'll probably take some time, and probably the band as well will take some time to recoup and all that. And I would like to hope that I heard whispers of a Tracks 3 or original music from him possibly coming out
Hmm.
next year. So I think that if he did that and he releases original music, I think that a tour would accompany that eventually.
Yeah,
And would think that he might tour either end of next year or maybe 2027. I'd love to hope for that.
yeah,
Otherwise, I can't imagine what he would do because even with him finding out 3 months ago that Tracks 2 was going to be released, I was like, this is crazy. What else could he do? And then
yeah,
I have all this other stuff.
yeah. There's thought that he may do a solo tour, which would be a lot of fun. Yeah. What have we're going to get to the Mary question in a minute, but what haven't I asked you that I should have?
Oh, flipping it on me. My goodness.
Yes.
I want to say,
I don't know if there's any stories particularly, or maybe a song that has gotten you through a tough time or something that you keep going back to.
I want to say something I revisit frequently enough is probably Nebraska as a whole, to be honest.
Yeah.
But in particular, really what speaks to me too is also the two covers that Johnny Cash did of Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
I believe Johnny 99 and
Highway Patrolman.
that's right.
And
That's
and
right.
I actually, this is heresy, but I actually like Johnny Cash's version of Highway 99, of Highway Patrolman more than
More.
Bruce's. Yeah. I
That's
love
all right.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like a Johnny Cash song.
And the way that Johnny 99, obviously his is more upbeat with it
Yeah.
and it's more of a funky. That sounds very Johnny Cash, but then when I go back and I'll listen to the original, I'm just like, I can't. It's
Yeah.
it's
Exactly.
almost
Yeah.
laughable. I like it. It's cute, but it's like when you know the real version, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
you know?
Exactly. That's awesome.
Yeah.
This has been so much fun.
I've had so
But
much fun myself.
yeah, and I'd love to have you come back in anytime. Maybe we'll have you come back and give your review of the movie.
Mhm.
But before I let you go, I got to ask you the Mary question. If you are a friend of Starla's listening to this, she did great. You should be very proud of her. I end every podcast with what I call the Mary question. And what that is, Jay Armstrong, who is an honors English teacher, now retired, but he would give his students the lyrics to Thunder Road, and they would read it as if it was a poem discussing the imagery and the themes Bruce explores, compare it to Robert Frost, and then
Mm-hmm.
a road not taken. And then he would end the class asking his students, does Mary get in the car? So, Starla, that is your question. Does Mary get in the car at the end of Thunder Road?
I think that at the end of the song, Mary is about to get in the car, but she has yet to get in the car.
Okay.
And that my reasoning is because he goes, so Mary, climb in. It's a town full of losers. I'm pulling out of here to win. He
Yeah.
says, climb in, Mary. She is not, in my opinion, she is not yet in the car. Maybe she's still on the porch. Maybe she's walking up to him. Maybe she's still thinking, but he's still, get in the car, girl. We got
Yeah.
places to be. So I think at that point, she has actually not yet gotten in the car, but she does. I
You
don't
do
think there's a
think she
doubt about it.
does?
I think she does eventually get in the car, but it's after the song is done.
Very nice. That's good. So, Starla, are you in any social media at all?
I am.
Tell us how we can reach you.
My Instagram is backstreet_tramp. So Backstreet Tramp on Instagram.
Very nice. Good. Any plans for the rest of the summer?
Definitely finish up tracks to really get more deep into that and definitely seeing what else I can crank out writing wise.
Good. If you want to share something, I'd love to read it.
I'd be honored if you took a look at it.
All right, very nice. All right, listeners, go check out her, follow up her on Instagram. Have a good summer. Be safe, be kind, and we'll talk soon. Goodbye.
Bye.